Right, so now it seems to be broadcasting properly. I'm not sure what's up with the YouTube app. Maybe it's defective. We'll see. Normally I use Streamlabs to stream, but it kept giving me no signal for YouTube. And actually, it seems to have worked because I had. Oh, okay. Very strange. Right, so I'm gonna leave the stream open for uh, probably another few minutes, about 12 minutes. So at 45, I should be starting the unpacking. I'm really just trying to see the different options, why it gives a little difficulty to start multiple streams. So we'll see about that. So you can chat live if you want at the moment. And it should be starting in about 12 minutes when it hits 15 here. All right, so if you have any suggestions, you can write it in GA or write it in the chat. I'm going to try to read from time to time. It shouldn't be a very long unboxing. I've got about half an hour maximum to do it. So we'll see about that. And I'll post later on a dual camera. I'm going to have on top here, over here, I have the iPhone 4S in 720p to do a B camera on the side for my face, so you're gonna be able to see what I had actually said. Okay, so won't be long. Okay, it's a little strange because YouTube is sending it as a 720p and it's supposed to be set at 1080p, so I'm not sure what's up with the YouTube app. I'm guessing it's not the perfect app to do live streaming. All right, so welcome. What I'm gonna do for this time, I'm gonna do it a bit differently because I've been asked a few questions about my past, and people are seemingly curious about if it's true or not. So I'm gonna show you pictures, especially since they are older. I don't really mind showing people because they've changed and probably not very recognizable. So let's start off. It's mostly for testing purposes. This is when I was a young kid, the first real sailboat that my family had. So you have my father, my brother, and I on the small sailboat. It was a small one. This was, of course, simple pictures. My first bike, which I was a little bit disappointed because I lost my preferred bike to my brother, which had gotten my older bike. This is people I was working with when we were at McDonald's. We had done a paintball fight, and those are all people that I worked with. This was my one of my girlfriends at the time. Very nice, very except she had a little bit of drug issues, so we had parted ways, sadly for that. This was my first motorbike. When I say motorbike, that's what I mean, a motorcycle. And here was my first girlfriend at 20. She was 21. I was 17 at the time. She was a worker at McDonald's. This is where we had the rented motel for many people. We were at least 6 at a time per room for the first days, and afterwards we had 2 rooms, so we could switch shifts. That's when we were opening the new restaurant, New McDonald at La Chute, which was about 1 hour drive from where I lived. So it was quite a party. I was doing a bit of everything, including cashier and stuff that you usually do before becoming a manager or an assistant manager. So these were people I was with when we went afterwards. People I knew from around here. These pictures you've already seen. These are not useful. This is in Quebec when I'm talking about Quebec City and the historical values that it has. We have here one of the annual medieval celebrations which was happening all around the city. There are still those events happening, but it changed name this year. So this is where I would probably suggest we go if we have visitors to the region for a few months to visit and probably live there for a while. It has a lot of historical value, a lot of nice places to visit and stuff to do. This was one of my other girlfriends at the time when I was living up north, near where I said I was renting the basement of a Swiss chalet, which had a pretty big window view, which was interesting. This was, of course, a little bit like about 15 minutes walk, half an hour walk from where I was. So those were the rapids of an old electric station and paper station, if I remember. This is when I did. This is when I did the bicycling tour. It was 2 weeks of bicycling tour. We had to set everything up for the customers, and I did that tour another year, but this year I wanted to be a worker there. So we had our tents at the background here. Sadly, that night there was a terrible rain, so every tent there's a small hill here. It was at a schoolyard, so every tent that was there had about a feet of water during the night, so we had to sleep inside of the school. This is one of the Halloweens that I had when I was living in my basement of the Swiss chalet. This was with another one of my girlfriends that was closer here in Montreal. She too was into smoking weed at the time, and I wasn't really a fan of that, so she had decided to go back to doing more of it, and I wasn't too happy with that, so we had to part ways. This is one of her nephews. We were taking out to the zoo. That's about 45 minutes from here. This is a little bit later.